Let me tell you something profound about success that most people don't understand. Everything worthwhile takes time. Everything. The oak tree doesn't grow overnight, and neither does your success. Here's what's fascinating. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. Isn't that interesting? They want the harvest without understanding the seasons of growth. Now let me share something with you that might change your entire perspective on giving up. You see, most people quit just when they're about to break through. They're like the mining prospector who dug for gold for years, then sold his equipment just 3 feet away from the largest gold deposit ever found. You know what separates winners from losers? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's the ability to stay in the game when everyone else has left the stadium. Write that down. That's worth writing down. Let me tell you about patience. It's not just waiting. Anyone can wait. Patience is working while you're waiting. It's believing while you're waiting. It's growing while you're waiting. Most people don't understand this distinction. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's like boiling water. The water starts heating at 1 degree, 2 degrees, but nothing seems to happen. At 211 degrees, still nothing. But at 212 degrees, everything changes. That 1 degree makes all the difference. Let me tell you why this understanding is so crucial. Most people give up because they don't understand the law of gestation. Everything has its own time. You can't have a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. Some things just take time. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's not linear. It's not like climbing stairs where each step represents equal progress. No, it's more like a rubber band. You keep pulling and pulling, seemingly getting nowhere, then suddenly snap, everything moves forward at once. Now some of you are thinking, but Jim, I've been working so hard and seeing no results. Let me ask you something. Does a farmer complain that his seeds haven't grown after 1 day of planting? Of course not. He understands the natural progression of growth. You see, most people quit at the first sign of resistance. They hit a wall and think it's the end of the road. But here's what's interesting. The wall is there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. It's there to stop the other guys. Let me share something powerful with you. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story you admire went through their own valley of tears. But here's the difference. They didn't stop in the valley. Here's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Successful people have developed the ability to keep going when the excitement of the beginning has subsided and the pain of the middle is upon them. Let me tell you something that might revolutionize your thinking. Everything worthwhile in life operates by phases. First, there's the phase of planting. Then there's the phase of cultivating. And finally, there's the phase of harvesting. Most people want to skip straight to the harvest. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's a lot like bamboo. For the first 4 years, you water it, fertilize it, care for it, and nothing appears to happen. Nothing. Then, in the 5th year, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Now, let me ask you, did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, how do I know if I should keep going or if I'm just wasting my time? Let me tell you something profound. If you're growing, learning, and getting better, you're never wasting your time. The only real failure is quitting on yourself. You see, most people don't understand the principle of compound effect. They think success should be instant, like microwave popcorn. But real success is more like a crock pot. It takes longer, but the flavor is incomparable. Here's what separates winners from whiners. Winners understand that the darkest hour is just before dawn. They understand that the moment you want to quit is usually the moment right before the miracle occurs. Let me share something powerful with you. Every successful person you admire has wanted to quit at some point. The difference is they didn't. They understood that temporary defeat is not permanent failure. Let me tell you about a principle that could transform your entire perspective. It's called the law of persistence. Most people confuse persistence with stubbornness. But here's what's fascinating. Persistence is continuing with purpose, while stubbornness is continuing despite evidence. You see, every great achievement in human history took longer than expected and faced more obstacles than anticipated. The Wright brothers didn't create the airplane on their first try. Edison didn't invent the light bulb on his first attempt. But here's what's interesting. We remember their successes, not their failures. Now let me share something profound with you. Your dream has a timeline of its own. You can't rush it any more than you can rush the dawn. But here's the key. While you can't rush it, you can work on yourself while you wait. You can develop your skills, enhance your knowledge, strengthen your character. Here's what most people do. They quit when they're tired. But let me tell you something. Winners quit when they're done. Write that down. That's worth writing down. Being tired is temporary, but being a quitter is permanent. You see, life has an interesting way of testing your commitment. It will send you obstacle after obstacle, not to stop you, but to see how badly you want it. Most people interpret these obstacles as signs to quit, but they're actually signs that you're on the right track. Let me ask you something. If you knew with absolute certainty that success was inevitable if you just kept going, how would that change your perspective? How would that change your persistence? Let me tell you something that might completely change how you see obstacles. They're not there to stop you. They're there to test you. They're not there to defeat you. They're there to reveal you. Isn't that fascinating? Here's what most people don't understand about achievement. It's not about having no failures. It's about having no quit. Thomas Edison said he didn't fail 10,000 times. He successfully found 10,000 ways that wouldn't work. That's the mindset of a winner. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if I'm not talented enough? Let me tell you something powerful. Persistence will outwork talent every single time. You show me someone with great talent who quits, and I'll show you someone with average talent who succeeds through sheer persistence. You see, life has an interesting way of rewarding persistence. It's like the universe has a special account where it keeps track of every effort, every tear, every moment of persistence. And one day, when you least expect it, it pays you back with interest. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that the difference between success and failure is often just a little more time, a little more effort, a little more persistence. Let me share something profound with you. Every single day you persist, you're building something. You're building character. You're building strength. You're building the kind of person who deserves the success they seek. Let me tell you about something that could revolutionize your understanding of achievement. It's called the law of delayed gratification. Most people want instant results, but life's biggest rewards don't work that way. They just don't. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's a lot like planting a Chinese bamboo tree. For 5 years you water it, fertilize it, protect it. And what do you see? Nothing. Not a single sprout. But in the 5th year it grows 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Now, was that 6 weeks of growth or 5 years of preparation? Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I've been working so hard for so long. Let me ask you something. How long did it take you to learn to walk? How many times did you fall? Did you ever think about giving up? Of course not. Because nobody told you how hard it was supposed to be. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with time. They'll spend 40 years living below their potential, but they won't spend 4 years building something great. Isn't that fascinating? They'll waste time, but they won't invest it. Here's what separates the successful from the average. Successful people understand that time is going to pass anyway. The question isn't whether you'll be older in 5 years. The question is, will you be better? Will you be closer to your dreams? Let me share something powerful with you. Everything you want exists on the other side of consistency. Everything. Your dream body, your dream business, your dream life, it's all waiting for you on the other side of consistent action. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's like building a wall. You lay one brick at a time, and it might not look like much each day. But if you lay each brick as perfectly as you can, eventually you'll have a wall that's unshakable. That's how success works. Now, let me share something profound with you. Your persistence is a direct reflection of your belief. If you truly believe in something, giving up isn't even part of your vocabulary. It's like breathing. You don't decide each morning whether you'll keep breathing. You just do it. You see, most people quit because they look at how far they have to go instead of how far they've come. But here's what's interesting. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once clueless. Every success story started with day one. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that success is not about speed, it's about direction. It's not about how fast you're going, it's about whether you're still going. Let me ask you something. What if all your dreams came true, but they took twice as long as you expected? Would they still be worth pursuing? Your answer to that question reveals everything about your commitment level. Let me tell you about a principle that could transform your entire approach to success. It's called the law of accumulated effort. Everything counts. Everything. Every small action, every tiny decision, every moment of persistence, it's all being recorded in the ledger of your life. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's like compound interest for your efforts. At first it seems like nothing's happening. But then suddenly all those small actions start compounding. Isn't that interesting? The things you do today might not show results tomorrow, but they're not lost, they're invested. Now some of you are thinking, but Jim, I feel like I'm moving too slowly. Let me share something profound with you. Slow progress is still progress. A turtle making steady progress will always beat the rabbit who runs in circles. Always. You see, most people quit because they're focusing on the gap between where they are and where they want to be. But here's what's interesting. Successful people focus on the gain. They celebrate every small victory, every inch of progress, every step forward. Here's what separates the winners from the quitters. Winners understand that every overnight success is really a story of years of invisible work. Years of showing up when nobody was watching. Years of believing when nobody else did. Let me share something powerful with you. There are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Let me tell you something that might completely revolutionize how you view your journey. Success is not a straight line. It's not even a curved line. It's a messy scribble that eventually reaches the top. But most people quit when the line dips down. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's like climbing a mountain in the fog. You can't always see the peak, but you know if you keep climbing, keep moving upward, eventually you'll break through the clouds. Isn't that interesting? The peak was there all along, whether you could see it or not. Now, let me share something profound with you. Your persistence is actually a form of faith. It's your way of telling the universe, I believe in this dream so much I'm willing to work for it even when I can't see results. That's powerful. You see, most people treat their dreams like a microwave meal. They want it hot and ready in 3 minutes. But real success is more like a slow-cooked meal. It takes longer, but the flavor is incomparable. The depth is incomparable. The satisfaction is incomparable. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that the size of your success is determined by the size of your commitment. Not your initial commitment, but your commitment when things get tough. Let me ask you something that might change your entire perspective. What if everything you're going through right now is preparing you for what you asked for? What if your struggles are actually answers to your prayers for strength, for wisdom, for character? Let me tell you about something that could completely transform your understanding of progress. It's called the law of incubation. Just like a seed beneath the soil, your biggest breakthroughs are developing even when you can't see them. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's like water coming to a boil. For a long time, nothing seems to be happening. The water is getting hotter and hotter, but you see no change. Then, suddenly, at 212 degrees, everything transforms. Isn't that interesting? 1 degree makes all the difference. Now, some of you are saying, but Jim, I've tried everything and nothing's working. Let me share something powerful with you. Everything works, you just haven't worked everything long enough. Most people change their goals when they should be changing their deadlines. You see, life has an interesting way of testing our commitment. It will send us obstacle after obstacle, not to break us, but to prove us. To prove that we deserve what we say we want. But here's what's interesting. Most people interpret these obstacles as signs to quit when they're actually signs of progress. Here's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Successful people understand that the moment you feel like giving up is usually the moment right before the breakthrough. It's like mining for gold. The biggest gold deposits are usually found right where most people quit digging. Let me share something profound with you. Every master you admire was once a disaster. Every expert you respect was once a beginner. Every success story you're inspired by is chapters of struggle that you never heard about. Let me tell you about a principle that could revolutionize your entire approach to persistence. It's called the law of harvest. You can't plant and harvest in the same day, you just can't. But most people try to defy this natural law. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's like building a skyscraper. First, they dig deep into the ground, and for months it looks like nothing's happening. But without that foundation, the building could never reach the heights it's destined for. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes you have to go down before you can go up. Now let me share something powerful with you. Your persistence is actually a form of self-respect. Every time you keep going when you feel like giving up, you're telling yourself, I believe in you. I believe in your dreams. I believe in your potential. You see, most people quit because they believe the lie that successful people have some special advantage. But here's what's interesting. The only real advantage successful people have is that they're willing to do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. Here's what separates the achievers from the average. Achievers understand that success is never owned, it's rented. And the rent is due every single day, every single day. Let me ask you something that might change everything. What if the only thing standing between you and your dreams is time? Not talent, not opportunity, not connections, just time and persistent effort. Here's what's fascinating about success. It's like a rubber band. The further back you're pulled, the further forward you can launch. Isn't that interesting? Your setbacks are actually setting you up for a comeback, but only if you hold and if you're on. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if I fail? Let me share something profound with you. You only fail when you stop trying. Everything else is just learning. Everything else is just data. Everything else is just feedback for your next attempt. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with success. They want the glory of the summit without the story of the climb. But here's what's fascinating. It's the climb that makes you ready for the summit. It's the struggle that makes you strong enough for the success. Here's what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Extraordinary people understand that patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. While you're waiting, you're growing. While you're waiting, you're learning. While you're waiting, you're becoming. Let me share something powerful with you. Every day you persist, you're not just building your dream, you're building yourself. You're building your character. You're building your strength. You're building your legacy. Let me tell you about a principle that could revolutionize your entire perspective on time. It's called the law of preparation. While you're waiting for your big moment, life is preparing you for that moment. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of persistence is part of your preparation. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's like launching a rocket. Do you know that 80% of the is used in the first few minutes of launch? Just to break free from the Earth's gravity. Isn't that interesting? The beginning is always the hardest part, but most people quit during the launch. Now, let me share something profound with you. Your struggles are not a sign that you're doing something wrong. They're a sign that you're doing something significant. Nobody struggles to fail. You only struggle when you're pushing against resistance, when you're growing, when you're ascending. You see, most people misunderstand the relationship between time and success. They think time is the enemy, but here's what's interesting. Time is neutral. It's not for you or against you. It's simply revealing what you do with it. Here's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Successful people understand that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret is permanent. They understand that the time will pass anyway, so they might as well pass it pursuing something worthwhile. Let me ask you something that might change your entire approach. What if your current situation is not your final destination, but merely a preparation station? What if everything you're going through is actually preparing you for everything you've been praying for? Let me tell you about something that could completely transform your view of time. It's called the law of reverse perspective. Most people look forward and see how far they have to go. Winners look backward and see how far they've come. Here's what's fascinating about achievement. It's like climbing a mountain. From the bottom, all you see is the peak, and it looks impossible. But as you climb, you start to see the path. You start to see the handholds. You start to see that it's not impossible. It's just challenging. Now, some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if I'm not making progress fast enough? Let me share something profound with you. Speed is irrelevant if you're moving in the wrong direction. It's better to move slowly in the right direction than quickly in the wrong direction. You see, most people have this interesting relationship with success. They want the destination without the journey. But here's what's fascinating. The journey is what makes you ready for the destination. The struggle is what makes you strong enough for the success. Here's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Achievers understand that success is not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up. They understand that falling isn't failing. Staying down is failing. Let me share something powerful with you. Every time you persist through difficulty, you're not just building your future, you're building your character. You're not just creating success, you're creating strength. You're not just achieving goals, you're achieving growth. Let me leave you with one final principle that brings everything together. It's called the law of inevitability. When you persist long enough with the right action, success becomes inevitable. Not easy, not quick, but inevitable. Here's the ultimate truth about achievement. It's not about being the most talented, the most connected, or the most privileged. It's about being the most persistent, the most determined, the most resilient. You see, at the end of the day, success comes down to one simple question. Are you willing to do today what others won't, so you can do tomorrow what others can't? Remember this, your persistence is your power. Your determination is your destiny. Your resilience is your reward. And most importantly, never forget that the very fact that you're still going, still trying, still believing makes you extraordinary. Because ordinary people quit. Ordinary people give up. Ordinary people let their dreams die. But you're still here, still pushing, still believing. And that's what makes all the difference. Keep going. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.